We get a lot of questions about differences between mags and interchangeability and all kinds of things like that, so I'm going to try to make it a little clearer for you guys and ladies possibly. First thing, telling a 10 round magazine from a high capacity magazine, like these two magazines are for the USP compact of the P2000 or a P2000 SK, as I'll show you later, and these two magazines are for a USP, and one of them's 10 round, the other one's the normal capacity in both of these. If you look at the difference between these two, one of them has a little tab right there. The ones that have those tabs are the 10 rounders. So very quickly, if you're looking through a display case or something like that and you see those tabs, that means it's the non-high capacity magazine. And not all 10 round magazines have these tabs. Like the HK45 10 rounds is the standard capacity, so it's not going to have those tabs. Likewise with the P2000 SK in 9mm, standard capacity for that is 10 rounds, so it's not going to have any of these tabs. But for those guns that have a standard capacity higher than 10 rounds, and then like the USP with 13, and then they have to make 10 round magazines for either the assault weapons ban or states that still have high capacity bans in effect, you'll be able to tell the difference by that tab. Floor plate wise, you'll notice that these two have flat floor plates and these have extended floor plates. That's not just because these are USP mags and these are P2000/USP compact mags. It's because HK makes two different kinds of magazines. Like there's a flat floor plate for a USP or a compact or a P2000, and here's an extended floor plate for a USP 40 or 9mm, and that magazine is marked 9mm or 40. For most of HK's magazines, let me try to get this right, the P2000 SK has that option, that difference. The P2000 and USP compact have that difference. In all calibers, yes they do. And then the USP in all calibers has that difference. I'm not sure if the HK45 does or not. I know the HK45 compact does because it's the same magazine as the USP compact in 45. But that's the difference in floor plates. The difference in markings, a lot of people get a magazine that doesn't have the same markings as another factory HK magazine they have, so they assume that it's not a factory magazine. But that's not always the case. HK regularly changes the markings they have on pistols. They regularly change the markings that they have on magazines. Just to give you an example, this is a USP Tactical that doesn't have the HK engraving right there, and obviously this one does. On the other side, this one says Heckler and Koch on the other side, where this one does not. Those are the same. Sometimes these markings will change, and not just on magazines, but on a bunch of things HK makes. The markings can change, and you see on these two magazines, one says restricted for law enforcement and the other one doesn't. That doesn't mean this one's not a factory magazine or this one's not a factory magazine. They just change it. Likewise with floor plates. There's one that's marked HK, there's one that's not. Both factory. So don't panic if you get something that looks a little bit different than the magazine you may already have. The only people that make aftermarket magazines I can think of is ProMag, and they make magazines for the USP 45. Those are the only aftermarket magazines I know of for H&K guns. Mag disassembly. We'll take apart real quick a 10 round mag and a standard capacity magazine for the P2000, so you know how to do that. The standard capacity is fairly easy. There's just the button on the bottom of the floor plate, and you push that in, and once you push that in far enough, you can slide the floor plate off. And keep your thumb on that magazine spring because it'll jump out pretty quick. Those are the parts involved in a standard capacity magazine. The neutered magazines get a little more difficult. These tabs right here, you still got the button, but you also got these tabs. So you have to push this button in very far and then push those tabs in, and then the magazine will start coming out, and make sure you hold on to it. So there, that's out, and you can see the difference in the parts between these two magazines. This is a good time to show you that these are not interchangeable. You can't just replace the floor plate of a 10-round magazine and make it a high-capacity magazine. There's intensive surgery here. You can't, where these slide on, probably see the ridge in the magazine where these floor plates slide on right there. That's non-existent on the 10-rounder. It's completely flat, so there's nothing to slide this floor plate onto on this magazine. So, to reassemble, you push the spring back in and then slide, and that's standard capacity magazine. On this one, again, you'll have to push the tabs pretty far in there. Once you put this other one on, you got to line these tabs up just right, push it in, and then push in that little tab until it clicks. Fiddle around with it like crazy. There it is. So that demonstrated how to disassemble them, and also a visual representation to show you how you can't swap between neutered mags and high cap mags. And you're supposed to disassemble and clean these mags after 500 rounds through each one. I think that's what the manual says anyway. Alright, this is probably going to end up being 2 parts. So mag interchangeability. HK is finally starting to, well, they have for a few years, but it's been fairly recent. They're finally starting to make pistols with the same, use the same magazine. Like the P2000 SK uses the subcompact mag it comes with. It can also use the neutered 10-round magazines for the P2000 / USP compact. And this is the standard capacity for the same thing. And that's about it for the 40 Smith & Wesson. If this was a 9mm mag or 9mm P2000 SK, it could also use the P30 magazine, which is a little more capacity than the P2000 / USP compact magazines. I printed off a chart that shows you mag interchangeability. I don't expect you to read it right now, don't worry about that. But I'm probably going to upload either a picture or a downloadable document inside the YouTube details of this video, and it'll be pretty straightforward. You look over here to see what model of pistol you have, and then follow across to see what X's land on what, to see what magazines you can use. And there are a number of asterisks type things everywhere to try to explain how all this works. But more or less, it's going to be a smaller pistol can use a bigger pistol's magazine. For newer HKs, that's like not the USP. I'll show you that in a second. But here the P2000 subcompact obviously uses P2000 SK mags, and we'll pause for a second and go on to part 2. See you in a second.